What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats as well as some excellent attachment combinations for every gun in Call of Duty Vanguard. And in today's episode, we're going to be moving on to the LMG category, and we're going to start it off with the MG42. Now diving right in, let's have a look at our damage profile, which as you can see here, it's going to be a 5 to 6 shot kill anywhere in the body. Even though we deal a bit more damage to the torso compared to the limbs, you'll still get a 5 to 6 shot kill even if you're shooting them in the foot. As for headshots, they're moderately useful with the MG42. You do have to land 2 headshots mixed in with torso shots at any range to reduce the number of shots to kill. Next up, let's get into our rate of fire, which is insanely fast at 1,034 rounds per minute. And what this means is even though it takes 5 to 6 shots to kill, which is quite a bit for this game, we still get a great time to kill potential at 232 milliseconds in the 5-shot kill range and 290 milliseconds in the 6-shot kill range. As for that headshot time to kill, assuming we can land those 2 headshots mixed in with torso shots, up close it's going to be 174 milliseconds, which is an amazing time to kill potential. Now when it comes to our bullet velocity, this is standard for LMGs at 930 meters per second, and this is an incredibly high bullet velocity that's going to make this gun essentially feel like hit scan at most ranges that you'll ever find in the multiplayer maps. And speaking of ranges, as you can see here, our 5-shot kill range will extend out to just over 50 meters, which is going to cover the vast majority of practical lines of sight in this game. And then having a look at hardcore game modes, unfortunately the MG42 can't get a 1-shot kill to the body. The only 1-shot kill potential it has is to the head or the neck within 50 meters. Now obviously with its insanely high fire rate, it's not that big of a deal to land 2 bullets, but I did want to point that out for those hardcore players. And with that, let's now move into Hipfire, which, as we can see here, the MG42 kind of falls in the middle with the LMG category. So it's not the worst in the LMG category, but it's also not quite the best. As for idle sway, as you can see here, there's definitely some idle sway, and your sight will move a decent amount while aiming down sight, but it also does this very, very slowly, so it's really not that big of a deal. I generally wouldn't worry about this, and now let's move into our recoil, which as you can see here with a 30-round recoil plot, we've got a pretty decent jump after the first bullet fired, and then every shot after that is very accurate. It just kicks upward with a slight lean to the left. So it's mainly just that recoil after the first shot fired that you have to worry about with the MG42. Then let's take a quick look at our bloom or our aim down sight spread, and as you can see there, the MG42 isn't perfectly accurate while aiming down sight. There is some aim down sight spread, but generally speaking this shouldn't be an issue for you unless you're really stretching those ranges out. And with that, let's move into our mobility, and when it comes to our aim down sight time, it's actually very solid for LMGs at least at 325 milliseconds, and our sprint to fire time is standard for LMGs at 300 milliseconds for our standard sprint out time. And with this, we can now get into the reload time, and I don't know, I could probably tell you a story in the amount of time it takes to reload this gun. It will take you a total of 6.34 seconds. This is one of the slowest reload times in the entire game. And this just leaves us with mobility for our base stats, and our base movement speed is 9.9 miles per hour, which is quite slow. Even for LMGs, it's on the slow side. And it's the same story when it comes to our sprint speed as well as our aim walking movement speed. This is definitely not going to be one of the strengths of the MG42. So with that, that's going to wrap it up for the base stats of the MG42. However, there's a couple other things I just want to mention with this gun. The first thing is, in my opinion at least, this is absolutely the best gun to be using with the piercing vision perk. That's a huge upside to the MG42. It works so incredibly well with piercing vision. And also, the MG42 is one of the best things that you can use to take out enemy streaks, especially aerial streaks. This is just as good, if not better, at taking out aerial streaks than the launchers in this game. And with that, let's now move into some of the important attachments to look at with the MG42, and of course we'll start it off with the barrels and their recoil, which as you can see here, the first barrel will nicely reduce our recoil. Second barrel gives us pretty much the same recoil pattern as the base recoil, although the big thing here is you don't get as much of a jump after that first shot fired, so that is actually quite a nice benefit there. Then with the third barrel, this one gives us the best recoil pattern possible. And then finally, the fourth barrel, this one increases our fire rate quite a bit. And in doing so, it definitely doesn't help our recoil. This one is the only one that actively harms our recoil. Then let's get into our ranges with these barrels, and the only barrel that actually changes the range value is going to be the second barrel. This one will increase it up to over 70 meters, which is a pretty insane range value. And now that we have that covered, let's dive a little bit deeper into at least a couple of these barrels. The first one I want to look at is that one that does massively increase our range value. This is the second barrel attachment. And with this, it does reduce our fire rate down to 952 rounds per minute, which will slightly slow our time to kill potential down as well. However, I would say that time to kill potential is still quite reasonable. 250 milliseconds is still a reasonable time to kill. So I would say this barrel is not bad if you want a little bit of extra recoil control without all of the downsides of some of the other barrels that help with recoil, but it's also not the greatest choice out there. As for the only other barrel that directly impacts our time to kill potential, this is the fourth barrel, which is the one that increases our fire rate up to over 1150 rounds per minute, which is absolutely insane. And with this, it cuts our time to kill down to 208 milliseconds up close, which is amazing. However, we do have to factor in the fact that this does pretty noticeably increase our recoil as well. So I would say this is a decent choice if you're planning to create a build that's just designed for more close to mid ranges and not designed to be stretched for those long range engagements. So there we have it. That's going to wrap it up for the barrel attachments on the MG42. Now let's get into the magazines. And we'll start it off with recoil once again, which, as you get to hear, if you use the 6.5 Secura rounds, you will get a very noticeable reduction in the total magnitude of your recoil, but it's worth noting you still get a decent jump after that first shot fired. And then when it comes to the 13mm anti-material rounds, these ones will increase the total magnitude of your recoil, and you can see there is a massive jump after that first shot fired. So that's really something to consider if you decide to go with that 13mm. But after that, let's have a look at the ranges, and with the 6.5 Secura rounds, you can see it reduces our 5-shot kill down to just over 40 meters, although we do get a slightly better time to kill that we'll look at in just a little bit. And then with the 13mm anti-material rounds, this one will turn it into a 4 to 5 shot kill, and that 4-shot kill potential will extend beyond 60 meters, which is amazing to see. But let's dive a little bit deeper into these, and we'll start it off with those 6.5 Secura rounds. And with this, our rate of fire is slightly increased from the base up to 1071 rounds per minute, and this means it's actually going to be improving our time to kill potential down to 224 milliseconds in the 5-shot kill range. Now, this is all looking good, but the one big thing we want to consider here is due to this change to our damage values, even though we still can get a 5 to 6 shot kill, it's going to be a lot less forgiving when it comes to this. Up close, for instance, you have to hit all 5 of your shots to the torso if you want to maintain a 5-shot kill. One single bullet to the leg or the arm, and now it's going to take you 6 shots to kill up close. Now, it is worth noting, though, that you can completely eliminate this issue by just running this combined with hollow points. So that's something we're going to do in one of my class setups that I'll share in just a little bit. But before we do that, let's move on to the other magazine type, and this is the 13mm anti-material rounds, which, like you saw earlier, this will turn it into a 4 to 5 shot kill now, which is great to see. And it's also worth noting this is a 4 to 5 shot kill anywhere in the body, even in the limbs. Now, in doing so, we do get a very slight reduction to our rate of fire, but this is still going to give you a significantly better time to kill potential at 177 milliseconds up close, which is incredible to see. And I say up close loosely there because our range value is also ridiculous with this, so that's going to apply to almost any range that you'll find in this game. Now, of course, we do have to keep in mind when using these, our recoil is going to go up, especially that recoil after the first shot fired. So if you are going to be using this, you probably aren't going to be able to stretch your ranges as much as the 6.5 Secura, for instance, but if you stack it with the right attachments, you can still make a very versatile setup. And speaking of setups, let's get into a couple incredible setups that I have for the MG42. These are by no means the only really good setups you can make with this. You can actually take this gun in a lot of different directions. These are just a couple that I wanted to share with you. And the first one I've got for you guys is my zero recoil build. And I really don't like it when YouTubers use the term zero recoil. But if you look at me firing a full 125 rounds with no controlling of the recoil at all, this is just the base recoil of the gun, this is about as close as you'll ever get to zero recoil in a Call of Duty game. So with this, some of the keys are going to be the third barrel attachment, which gives us the best possible recoil control. We've got the 6.5 Secura rounds combined with hollow points, so we get that guaranteed 5 to 6 shot kill even if we're shooting limbs. We've got the 2.5 times optics, so we've got a little bit more zoom than the standard like slate reflector that I like to use. The skeletal stock is just really nice on this gun. We've got the tight grip proficiency and the stippled grip on here. Now, this build is primarily just built for that ridiculous accuracy, so you can pick people off even across the map, no problem with this. We've got a very solid time to kill potential at 224 milliseconds. Our range isn't the greatest, but honestly, even with a 6-shot kill, that 280 milliseconds is going to be beating most guns at longer ranges. And therefore, this is just an amazing gun if you're actually treating it like an LMG. We do have pretty slow handling and mobility here, so this is more of a sit back and lock down lanes type of a build. As for the second build I wanted to share for you guys, this one's designed for at least a bit more aggression than the last one. It's not going to be quite as accurate as we can see here. There's definitely some recoil there that we have to consider, but this is still very reasonably controllable, so you can still stretch your ranges out a little bit with this. And with this one, some of the keys are going to be the 13mm anti-material rounds, so we're going to have that 4 to 5 shot kill anywhere in the body with a ridiculously fast time to kill potential all the way out to 56 meters. Which is insanely powerful. And to top all of this off, I would say this has quite solid handling for an LMG at least. Like, our aim down sight time is 326 milliseconds. I'd consider that to be pretty slow for an SMG or assault rifle, but when it comes to LMGs, that's quite good. So this is the type of setup where you want to be actually roaming around the map a little bit. You will still have to play relatively methodically because you've got an LMG in your hands, but you can be a lot more aggressive with this build, and I would say this is a very highly versatile MG42 setup as well. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the MG42. And when it comes to my thoughts on this LMG, I do think this is one of the best, if not the best LMGs in the entire game. It's incredibly easy to use, super versatile, insanely accurate, great with piercing vision, great for taking out aerial streaks. It's just got a lot going for it. So I really, really like the MG42. But of course, that is just my opinion. I want to hear from you guys in the comment section below. What do you think of the MG42 in Call of Duty Vanguard? Also, if you guys haven't noticed yet, I did add a new link to the description down below, and this is a link to the spreadsheet with all of the base stats of the guns in the game, with the exceptions being, I believe, sniper rifles and shotguns. I haven't done a ton of testing with those yet, but for all of the other guns in the game, you've got the base stats there at least, so feel free to check that spreadsheet out anytime you'd like. It'll be in the description of all of my gun guide episodes, and also if you guys have missed any episodes of this series, I will leave a link to that playlist in the description down below as well. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.